The essence of the teaching from my Lakota teachers, Wallace Blackout, John Fire Lame Deer, Good Horse Nation. My Adine teacher, Shimta. My Huichol teacher, Guadalupe de la Cruz. All can be summed up in this, that we are connected, that there is no separation. There's only the appearance of separation. That in truth we are connected from the very first ancestor all the way through to the future generations. The Lakota say the next 7 generations are affected by our actions now. And now if you look at science too, it's basically we've come to see that there cannot be a separation. Because even though I'm speaking to you, there's the atoms and the molecules and everything's whirling between us in a kind of alive synchronicity. As I've walked in this medicine walk for these many years, my perspective of that phrase has changed. Hopefully become deeper. With my son, he's 25. He's a strong mirror for me at this time with the young generation. And how to actualize the ceremonies, the ancient ways, in a way that also incorporates their new vision of this generation. And to just keep expanding the heart, really, that's the key teaching, is to stay in a humble way with yourself. That's why they insist to do the purifications, the anipis, the vision quests, which you have to do regularly if you're guiding, so you keep facing yourself in your deepest humility and respect, so that you keep remembering this basic thing, because in our world we're so driven with separation and it's so egocentric based that everything we're doing, you need to clean out that at times. You have to go out on the forest and into the woods and be 4 days without food and water and just face your small little self in this great cosmos and renew your medicine to help the walk for everybody and say thank you, So this is the essence of them. None of my teachers felt comfortable being called shamans or medicine men. They were healers, they were great, but they like to refer to themselves as ikichite wechasha, which means ordinary, simple human being, ordinary, natural human being. I don't think it really fits either one of those, what or who. For me, she's an alive, pulsating, caring energy that vibrates in the expression of her form through the tiniest leaf to the furthest star. She's a mother in the sense that in the practical sense that we cannot survive without her because we get our food from her and our water. But also in the sense that she's common ground to everyone, whether you're a Berlusconi or a general or a president, or you're a beggar or a medicine man, or she's the root mother of everyone. We forget, there was a poll in America of young people, and they were asked, where do your vegetables come from? And they said, the grocery store. And it's like 60%. So the connection between realizing that the vegetables come from the earth is easy to, in this fast-paced modern life, we forget, we don't see the obvious reality. The Cree have an expression that only when the last fish has been poisoned and the last river polluted, you'll understand you cannot eat money. And I think we're at that point. I think people are starting to really arrive at what's necessary. And so what's necessary is connecting back to the earth as a mother. Because we have a schizophrenic rage as modern people with a great anger towards our mother. This is manifested in the way we treat her. And so, for me, Hamlet Ape, Vision Quest, has renewed that for me to understand that she's alive, she beats, she's responsive when you pray, when you're naked and you stand true, because we are not true people. We've lost our center. So for me, the Mother Earth is an opportunity to give back. And in that giving back and receiving and honoring it and acknowledging it, then our purpose, our true purpose as spirit beings evolving here, is more clearly realized, more clearly seen, and it becomes very simple, the life. So she's many things to me, but fundamentally she's a teacher of, strips me down to my need. And I recognize that that's what an infant has to do also with his mother. You need the mother, you need the milk of the mother's breast, you need her care, you need her love, and we forget this. The Nipi ceremony, we go in on our hands and knees. We don't go in walking up, and that's indication already that we're saying we come in here recognizing we're no bigger than anything else, no bigger than the insect. And this is that respect. The Mother Earth, it gives everything its unique expression, but nothing's higher than anything else, and we need that. And so now she's rock and rolling, she's purifying, and she's making us remember, oh yeah, with all our plans and all our goals and our dreams, one little poof like that, earthquake, boom, opens up, thousands die. One little tsunami, thousands of people wiped out. We forget. We are totally dependent on this Earth Mother. My family name, Donovan, is Irish. My father was Irish. And the meaning of Donovan is dark warrior. So my clan, on the Irish clan, is full of shamans and brujos and dark warriors. They were kind of competition with the O'Connors, and the O'Connors, the same family crest. So the O'Connors have a white hand around the sword of St. Patrick, and the Donovans have a dark hand around the sword of St. Patrick. And they were always, the O'Connors were the rulers and the kings, and the Donovans were the outcasts. So there's a connection in the blood. Personally, the connection with the dark side was, I grew up in a very, very violent family with a lot of abuse, physical abuse. So I think I was in touch very early with the dark side emotionally. I remember always in a beating or in a stress in the family, I would run out into the forest at night. And it was especially at night that I felt at home. And I remember I didn't have fear in the night. So for me, the dark, literally the dark, became a place where the mystery opened to me and spoke to me. And the moon and the way the spirit moved at night, where you couldn't see the shapes, the forms. So the literal dark side for me has been a great friend. The dark side in terms of my life, if you look at death as dark, and I don't personally, then in my life I've had many people die with me. I don't know why, ever since I was a little boy. So maybe 8, 9 people, including both my parents and my grandfather. And so there's been something connecting me from a long time with Brother Death, to be some kind of vehicle here and some sort of calling to work with people with death, with the darkness. And you're speaking of another dark side, which is the collective dark. And this is the the darkness of humanity in terms of unconsciousness. That's how I like to look at it now. I don't look in terms of good and bad. This is a morality judgment, which I think, because I know in my attempts to be good, or my attempts to quit tobacco, or whatever it is where you try hard to do the opposite of the dark, there's always a part of the darkness that still becomes attractive. There's a saying, whatever you resist persists. So there's something about the darkness inside us collectively that is deep. It goes from the very moment we had to kill to survive, to the greed and the power game of having more. If you look at our whole social culture and our whole economic structure, it's based on having more. Everything is competitive, everything is, but if you go to the native cultures, everything is based on giving away. A Tuhan, the more prestigious person is one who has nothing, who's giving everything that the others may live. So the dark side is actually an imbalance from avoiding what is the actual reality, which is our codependence. So the darkest part of the human nature is manifested through separation. All I can do in this point in my journey, there were many years when I was a young man and I fought against this. I was imprisoned during the Vietnam War. I was always trying to change the outside for the darkness to be transformed into light. But once I met my spiritual master and spent years with him, now I understand more and more that it's an opportunity to always keep aware of my own dark side. And I still have plenty of shadows to work with. I think for me personally in this moment, I'm learning that the fascination with it has to go. And what I need is I respect it. I try to use it as an ally for the healing of others, especially when they're really lost in their dark side, which can be abuse, or it can be, I was working with a circle of brothers, and one brother had been in prison for a long time and been abused a lot. And so, I think you have to, if you're a healer, you cannot avoid the dark side. You have to have penetrated it and known so that you can work with it. And most of the great healers I've known actually have been abused children or drug addicts, because they know the territory. So the last part I'll say on it is on a soul level, and I think we're here for our evolution of our spirit, you have to have lived every human experience. And so that's where the moral judgment and the moral codes that are set up by our institutionalized religions and priesthoods, and so, they're not deep enough to contain what's happening now. There's a great transformation going on. And we see it only from the outside, but inside there's something moving that's a new paradigm. It's not about morality, it's about absorbing what's so-called contradictions and transcending. And darkness is a great part of that. The last thing I want to say, because I love darkness, is the darkness, not the light, is the greatest source of my creativity as a poet. I think there's something greatly mysterious about the dark that's very attractive, that you have to really not only bring in, but honor with respect, because it can also bring tremendous cruelty and violence. It's been a great teacher to me, great friend. Self-destructiveness is the part I'm still working with that, and I'm hoping to heal that. I think love is the only thing that keeps us here. I mean, I think Dan told me once, Dan Winter, that for the scientists, love is gravity. Because gravity is the force that keeps everything together. And I thought that was a nice way to see it. From the native, I won't speak for the native, but from my experience with the native way, the good red road, we call it, is love is the compelling force to recognize oneness. And this is very deep teaching. It's not so much romantic love that we learn, but it is a deep, deep understanding that is only through sacrifice that we renew the creative aspect of life. And that sacrifice is real love. So it can be the sacrifice of a parent for a child, or for a disciple, for the master, or for a warrior at the Sundance. But I would say sacrifice is an integral part of love. The other part I think is really strong for love is surrender. That pride is an escape from the need or the admission of the need to be loved. And then the final, I think, that is really ignored, is the aspect of it is celebration. And we're conditioned so deeply into suffering and misery that we forget that love is a celebration. And nature has been the greatest teaching for me for that, because when you go out and you see the symphony of sounds, especially in spring, and the birds and the, even one bird is drinking so tiny bit of water and has one worm the whole day, but he's singing all day. You understand that this bird is connected to the love energy of the universe, while the man is running around with thousands of things and possessions and obligations, but he's so sad. So what is it there? So in essence, I would say love is connection, expression, surrender, celebration, and sacrifice for the renewal that life may go on. There's a little joke, where you have the Mayan writing on the stone tablets, and he gets to 2012 and he runs out of stone. And so, that's the perspective that, he ran out of stone. That's why they finished at 2012, And I know there was a whole lot of people expecting 2012 to kind of be the end. But I think if you look at the acceleration that's happening, some of it is only because of the information that we get through internet, and we're connected as one world. Many things have been going on the same for thousands of years, but we just weren't aware. So now we're not so egocentric based, we're more planetary based in our information. So it appears to be accelerating because we're overloaded with information. And when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, and I was a young man, and we were idealists, and we were trying to change the system, we felt information empowered us. Now I'm beginning to wonder, because we have so much information, I'm wondering if it's starting to paralyze people. So now, we know about what's going on, but instead of feeling like, let's come together and do something about it, it seems the energy is now like, it's too much, can't do anything about it. So the changes that we see, you go to Syria now and you look at India with all the rapes of the women going on. It appears that no, we're going back into the dark ages maybe. But if you look at this new generation, what the Lakota call the 7th generation, that's the age of my son now, there is something very incredible happening. They don't have so much these male-female definitions. My son, he considers himself an androgynous being. It's more like he feels he's male, female, and neither. He has friends that are bisexual, homosexual, heterosexual. They don't seem, when I'm around them, they don't have the same language that I have, which was very conditioned language in terms of male, female response modes. I think there's a lot moving under the ground right now that's a very strong purification moment. And a lot of the stuff that was hidden, abuse issues, religious, like the whole thing with the Catholic Church, with the whole pedophilia that went on, and is all coming to the surface because it's all being exposed. And I think that's a good thing, and even though it's freaking everybody out, I think it's a good thing that it comes out so that it can be purified. And once it's purified, then I feel there's a great shift of consciousness happening in terms of how we see each other, how we can start to look at each other without boxes, these definitions that have imprisoned us in our separation, to start to open to each other as human beings. Now, I don't mean it so much like an esoteric thing where I'm walking around going, oh, my brother, wow, my sister. It's very practical stuff. I'm still going to have my anger, and I'm still going to have my issues. But there's a detachment that comes from awareness that's starting to move. And I find it in relationships too. You know, maybe we'll snap at each other, but it's quicker. Things move quicker. And I think this can all be helpful. This final thing on that is, there's a lot of talk from the Hopi, and I spent some time with the Hopi too, about a new world. That this is the fourth world, we're moving into the fifth world, a new beginning for humanity. And that's going to be, I think, happening through the earth purifications that are coming. The earth is heating up in the center very strong. We have things that are going to move very quickly with the earthquakes and things. But that's only one level. And that level, it's going to look like maybe a lot of humanity has to die. But there's another level where we make a leap into another consciousness. And this is cyclic. It's not only now, it happened many times. There's a story about the monkeys, where the monkeys are by the river. And one monkey goes to the river one day and he looks down and he sees his face in the water. And so he starts beautifying himself and he starts to tie little twigs to his face. And then the next day, another monkey looks down and does the same. Now, there's 100 monkeys, but it doesn't take 100 monkeys and it doesn't take 50 monkeys. After about 20 monkeys, all the monkeys start doing it. So we kind of tend to think, in terms of the numbers of people that are moving through a transformation. But it's not necessary. If there's enough people that have been worked on themselves and done the work and become conscious, it automatically shifts. And you can see it even in the language. Like I was watching the news the other night, and they're using words like awareness, like it was, like, you know, and the awareness that was happening, and I'm looking at them going, this is on a newscast. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have heard that word. So it starts to infiltrate the fabric of the mainstream in ways we can't expect. So I think it is a time of shift, but we have to be careful with how we project. And we have to stay in a humble way with it, to not go on our spiritual ego game and start to think we're better or higher than other people. You know, so with the native, they're teaching, they continually bring you back to having to look at yourself. And I think if enough people do that, there'll be a shift in the way we behave. Oh. Be true. Respect yourself. Look with the eyes of wonder each moment. Life is miraculous, more miraculous than we think. Live in the moment and remember the connection. Hold everything close and give it all away.